Welcome to Healthy Mind, Better Future, a podcast dedicated to mental wellness, family strength, and community healing for Africans in the diaspora. With me are Dr. Adeyemi Fatoki, Dr. Caroline Olaleye, Dr. Kenneth Soyemi, Mrs. Dorcas Fatoki, Mr. Funmi Onayemi, and Funmi Apantaku-Onayemi, your host. On Healthy Minds, Better Future, we explore the trauma, fear, and emotional toll behind America's mass deportation. Our panelists give us pointers on how to prepare for the unfortunate possibility of deportation. More importantly, they give us concrete plans to maintain our mental health. Stay with us as we learn about what to do and how to cope. Good morning, everybody, and welcome, of course, to our program today. As you know, the United States is going through something very serious. We're going through what we call mass deportation by this administration. So we wonder, how is this whole issue affecting African immigrants in the United States? So we want us all to chime in. First of all, my question is, how do we even know about the presence of ICE in any community? Has anyone experienced that?
2 weeks ago, one of my patients reported that ICE was staging in a parking lot not far from the office. So that was the first time I knew that they do something like that. This was around Calumet City, Illinois. So one of the patients came in and said, there's an ICE staging area.
We know that many African immigrants probably have issues in terms of their whole paperwork, their documents in the US. So, as a mother, as a father, with American-born children, but who are undocumented, just let us discuss the trauma behind all of this.
I can just imagine that people would be very worried if they don't have the proper papers. They would be very worried about being deported. I mean, that's just the thing. The only thing I can pretty much say is that so long as they understand that they do not allow the fear of deportation to prevent them from seeking health care if they needed it. So I don't want anybody to be worried that ICE is going to get me, and because of that, if my child needs help, I'm not going to go to the doctor in case they can get me there. I would like people, if they get nothing else from this episode, to know that that will not be the case. They can still seek medical help.
If somebody shows up at ICE at my own place of work, we will not release information. We will let them know way ahead of time so that they can necessarily find a place of refuge in the establishment. And then we would definitely not release names of people we're taking care of at that point in time to any ICE officers. In fact, they won't even be able to come into our own place of establishment.
What would you suggest then that we do as community leaders or community members when we notice that something is happening in our areas? What should we do? How can we protect our community and our families?
It's important to get the word out, and that's part of what we are doing this morning is to let people know. Usually for healthcare providers, we are bound by privacy laws. And again, our training tells us the first thing is to do no harm. So we are not obligated to provide information to anyone. There are two states, Florida and Texas, that have laws that may try to make public employees disclose information. But when we see patients, we do not ask about immigration status at all. It's none of our business. We just focus on the healthcare.
One thing that I'm really surprised by is the fact that Chicago, Illinois, the state of Illinois should be sanctuary state, meaning that we should have some level of protection or maybe avoidance of ICE. And so I'm hearing this whole thing about ISIS in the church, in the hospitals, at graduations. Excuse me. And then they actually go to immigration offices, waiting for people to come out of immigration offices. These are people with some kind of documents, and they're ready to finish their paperwork. And then you go there in standby and you start throwing them somewhere. So my question to us is, what does it mean now to actually have sanctuary city or state? What are we doing? What is our governor doing? I don't know. I know you haven't been, into this tomorrow, but can you explain the whole sanctuary city or state to us?
One thing we need to realize is that this administration is not business as usual. So they do not follow proper laws. They make their own as they go along, or they bully their ways as they go along. But two things you need to remember as sanctuary cities is that the governor, as the executive of the state, can only protect. The federal law is supreme. So they can go in. Number two is that most of the fundings for the state, a lot of the portion of it comes from this federal government. So the federal government also have the power of the purse. So they have the power of the purse. They can withhold, and which he actually did for Illinois, by the way, and California. So he threatened to withhold their money. So that is the reason why. So the state can actually try not to follow the rules, but it has limitations.
What should we be careful about when we go in and out of the United States at this time?
If your paperwork is not really complete or you're halfway through processing, the advice at this time is probably to postpone all your travels just to be on the safe side.
I think the most important thing is to know the rules. I haven't noticed any changes when I travel in or out. But again, I make sure that I know what the rules are, that all my paperwork is intact, that I'm not mouthing off or acting crazy with the officers. I'm very respectful. I answer their questions and give them whatever documentation they need.
People should make sure that if your papers are in order, I don't think you have anything to worry about traveling. But if your papers are not in order, like any time before and after this administration will be, you might have trouble if you don't have papers in order and you travel. So, but if everything is fine, I think you shouldn't be scared to travel, and you shouldn't be scared. And even if you're illegal, you should not be scared to seek medical help if you are sick, if your child is sick.
We have some people who have broken the law, but may not have realized the severity of it. So, for example, someone who was arrested for driving under intoxication, that can come back and haunt them. Someone who maybe was arrested for driving without insurance, or someone who had committed a theft. So those are some of the things that are getting people in trouble. Like this, you think may be something that's petty, but again, they have very long-term implications. That I've seen, like when I've done on immigration physicals for patients that have not disclosed their DUI status, I've had one or two that came back because immigration does have those records. And they told them you need to go back because this history is not it's not consistent with what we have on you. So but that's what you need to put in mind. So yes, you might be driving or traveling and thinking that while they're stopping you, I haven't done anything. You may have committed some crime years ago that you didn't think had any implication that has very significant long-term implications. And that's one other thing that we need to think about, especially our young people. They come in here like, okay, this is life. I'm going out to drink and we are going to a nightclub and we don't care about what we are doing, but those are things that can come back 20, 30 years later to haunt you.
I've been thinking of this for me, that I'm undocumented and I have 2 boys in this country. So what should I prepare myself for or prepare my children for in case ICE shows up? First of all, I've always said Maybe I should call my attorney and say, whenever I have ICE at my door, should I call you? Will you be with me while I'm being taken to wherever they take me? Or what should I have? That's one question. How would you prepare your children for the possibility? Let's just assume that we're all undocumented now. How should we prepare our kids for the possibility that, oh, mom and dad were not fully documented, but this will happen to you in case ICE comes knocking on our door?
I think the first thing you mentioned is to prepare your legal practitioner. That is a good thing to do. But at the same token also, so you know your status here. So prepare your children in case the worst happens. So tell them, give some instruction on what to do. And then especially about finances, because once you get deported, you may need money wherever they're going to take you. It could be you're back to your own country, Nigeria, for example. So talk with your children how they can be sending you some money. It is very, very important. I know some horror stories from Houston, and people get to Nigeria or wherever they go, they get stuck, and they have to beg for money. So talk to your legal advisor and have a family discussion with your children.
A lot of immigrants, we don't disclose the full details to our family and children, but I think you need to let them know where things stand. You need to get advice from people that can advise you. A lot of people, instead of talking to their doctors about medical advice or talking to their lawyer, they're getting advice from friends, people that think they know, but they don't know. Again, you need the most competent person to advise you. And you need to make sure that all your documents are in order, that you have someone that you trust who can get them for you, like to know where your passport is, your bank information, so that in case anything happens. I'll tell you what I did. Like, I came here at a very young age. The first thing I did as soon as I got my diploma, I mailed it to my parents in Nigeria. It's like, okay, I know if anything happens to me, anywhere I end up, at least I have my first degree that my parents can get to me wherever I want, but also make sure that I had a very good trusted friend who knew where all my things were. I mean, I wasn't illegal, I wasn't doing anything else. I came on an F1 student visa and everything was current. And I always made sure that I did not exceed my stay, that I did what I was supposed to do. I was in school, I wasn't supposed to work outside campus. I didn't do that. So it's very important that you stay within the law, but have someone that you trust that can access your information and your documents when you need it.
It depends. Are these adult children or are these young kids? If they're minor kids, you have to you have to arrange for somebody who will take care of them while you're gone there. This requires advanced planning, and this you may not necessarily tell everybody your business, but just find one or two people that you can really trust. And one thing is on a piece of paper or on a piece of Word or your social media password, your bank account numbers, your life insurance, all that stuff, have it all in one place and can hand it over to that person in a sealed envelope so that just in case they don't hear from you or immigration picks you up, it's either your oldest child or your trusted friend, let them have access to that information so that they can know how to access funds for you. Because like Daddy said, once you're gone, it's like you're on your own. You call people here, nobody will pick up the phone, especially if you're back home in Africa and nobody will pick up the phone. Once you're gone, it's like out of sight, out of mind. So this requires advanced planning, especially if you're undocumented and you're worried about the immigration coming to pick you up. Advanced planning is the key word here.
It's a good thing to have a trust. And I think whether you're documented or undocumented, actually, I feel like it's always a good thing to do. That somebody, nobody is guaranteed the next minute. We all pray that we get to celebrate 3 digits birthdays, but this is life. So you everybody should have, anybody that have children should have a plan that just in case I am not there, is it because of ice? Is it because of some serious illness? Is it because of the ultimate death? I mean, I know Africans, we don't want to talk about death, but it's a reality and a fact of life. So everybody should always plan, especially when your children are young. Have set up a trust, which is like, who is going to take over? Who is going to help me with these children if something happens? And once they get older, yes, you have to be able to sit them down and explain things to them and let them know what's going on. And then, of course, put whichever one of the kids that you entrust, put them in charge, because not all kids are created equal. Some might blow your money out even in your in your lifetime when you're not there. They just might spend it rather than send it to you. So you will know your own children and you will know which one of them to handle things over.
I want to chime in once more. Like Dr. Soyemi mentioned, advanced directives, advanced planning. Maybe he didn't use the word directive, but it's not the topic of what we are doing today, but it's also something that's very important. You know, whether you're documented, undocumented, healthy, unhealthy, it's very important, especially for healthcare, you know, but you need to have some kind of advanced directive or power of attorney, someone that can act on your behalf if you become unable to act for yourself or for your children.
So now let's talk about the mental health aspect of this. So the parents have been deported. How should we care for the children who are just devastated about the fact that they don't even know? You know, in this country, we're all so isolated, many of us. So you're gone, the kids are here. How can they manage mentally? How is it that we deflate this trauma? Because it's going to be huge. This is a huge traumatic experience. What should we do with them? What should we prepare for them just in case this happens in terms of managing their mental health?
With their minor, there's something is either definitely the state will have to come in if the minor children are citizens, the state will come in. And if you have a trusted friend, like we've talked about earlier, that can take over, they will let them have custody of the children. If not, they will put them in the system, in the foster care system. And like any other kids that goes in the system, being separated from a parent, that is major. A lot of them go through a form of post-traumatic stress. And a lot of them, some of them act out, some of them go into depression, they develop anxiety. So that is a whole lot of cans of worms. So if they go under the state and they're in foster care, they usually try to get them mental health care. You can send them for counseling and stuff. If they're with somebody else, like you have a friend that take over, I would say they should still afford these children to have somebody to talk to, because being suddenly separated from those parents, even though they're still alive, the sadness or the grief can be almost as bad as if there is a death, really. So that somebody gets somebody that they can talk to.
Having somebody, you know, that you can trust, that they can, you know, fit in the shoes, that would be ideal. Now, it depends, again, like Dr. Olaleye said and Dr. Soyemi said, if these are minor or adult or teenagers. So the state normally is very good, depending on which state. Some states, their public funding is different from other states. If you happen to be like Illinois, they are very well funded, and they can take care of most of the children that's been find themselves in this kind of situations. So the states, like Dr. Olaleye said, they will step in. The question though is if they goes to somebody else, like a family friend, they may not be able to cater for the mental health issues, but the state will do that.
The most important thing is let the kids know ahead of time so that they're not shocked them coming home, especially if they're minor kids, them coming home and the parents are not there. So by preparing in advance, you can start seeking therapy. They can start seeking therapy way ahead of time, so that even if it happens, then they're not shocked. Because the worst thing you can do is come home and you enter the door and your parents are not there, or if it's a single mom, your mom is not there. So my advice is be honest and upfront with your kids, both adults and minors, so that they are not shocked if all of a sudden you're in immigration custody. And having them seek help, even if you're gone, make sure you're communicating, you're still calling back home, you're still talking to them. The technology is so advanced now with advanced phones. You can always FaceTime with them. Even though you're not here, you're still part of their lives, and you'll still be there for them, even though you're back home in Africa.
Even with all the advanced planning and no matter how much you do, there are some things that we should keep in mind that I think we want our patients or people to realize. So some of the effect of this kind of trauma on the child can include things like they are dropping their school performance. They can regress, they can withdraw socially, they distrust the system, they're afraid to access healthcare. They may start having anxiety, they may start having problems with anger. Younger kids may start bedwetting, so those are some of the signs that the child may not be doing well, and a lot of the children will probably experience this. And even for adults, we can have things like sadness. They are very hypervigilant. Again, they don't want to access care. They don't trust the system. They don't trust anyone. So those are some of the signs that we should look out for if the children or some family members or adults or friends start exhibiting those symptoms after going through trauma.
Dr. Fatoki, the question is, so we identify all these things, where are the resources to help them address all these issues? I think it's one thing for us to identify how can we get help for them. Mental health is not easily affordable and easily accessible like that. I would like to know your opinion.
Okay, so Dr. The way I see that, like we both trained and we work in environments that have very limited resources. So basically, like, all three of us here, the way we have to function, we are not only the doctor, we are the mental health provider, we are the social worker, we are the ones who are trying to find things and resources in the community. And a lot of times, yes, I mean, when I was practicing family medicine, I spent hours counseling patients. I used to be in my office till 10, 11 o'clock on Friday nights, because my patients that had issues, and a lot of them were immigrants, I spent hours talking to them, advising them. And even now, like being a substance use professional, that's the same thing that I deal with. My patients are stigmatized. They treat them like dirt, even though they are citizens, but they look at them like the lowest of the low. So yes, and I have to be the one who is calling places on their behalf, who is calling the hospital, calling the other doctors, calling Medicaid on their behalf. So you just have to be an advocate. And that's why I'm glad that I trained at a place like Cook County Hospital, because we had very limited resources and we had to do those things by ourselves. And I still do that.
Dr. Soyemi, I want to also let you know that the community organizations, really African community organizations, are out there too. And I find them quite effective in terms of giving out all this information and actually letting people know what to do when it comes to the issue of immigration and what's happening in terms of mass deportation. So I want to thank you all for today. And we have had a wonderful discussion, at least at this level. We hope to come back again to discuss more about this really traumatic issue that is stressing so many people out. Thank you so much for today, and we'll talk again next time.
Before we wrap up today's episode of Healthy Mind, Better Future, I just want to take a quick moment to say thank you for tuning in. If you found this conversation helpful or inspiring, Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you know someone who could benefit from today's topic, please share this video with them. It might be just what they need. We'd also love to hear from you. Drop a comment below to let us know what you thought of today's episode, or tell us what topics you'd like us to cover in the future. This space is for you, and your voice helps shape what we do next. Thanks again for being part of this journey toward a healthier mind and a better future.